So, day two of Prince Harry in the High Court over here in London. Was it any better? Well, the bigger problem for Prince Harry yesterday, which really came through thick and fast, was the bottom line was he didn't really have enough concrete evidence. But overnight, of course, huge speculation as to how well he'd done, whether he equipped himself well, and more importantly for Harry, how was he perceived by the judge? Now, as you can imagine, it must be incredibly daunting turning up outside the Royal Courts of Justice in the very heart of London, knowing the world's media is there waiting for your every utterance, every mistake, every cough, fit, tear, whatever you want to call it, will be recorded and reported back out to the world's media. But this is Prince Harry. He's used to the world's media. But how well did he do considering this was day two in London's High Court? Well, he arrived again looking rather strident, confident, marching in with an air of authority. Same suit, different tie, but with a more pained look, a lot more on his mind. He didn't personally, facially, look as confident as the previous day, and who can blame him? After all, he'd been accused of not necessarily sticking to the same narrative that was written in his own book, Spare. Now, that's been the biggest problem so far with this particular court case. You see, earlier this year, Prince Harry released that tell-all book, autobiography, and a lot of the stories, and as ever, we have to say allegedly, simply do not correlate with what he wrote back in January or the early part or late part of last year when he was ghostwriting that book. It came across as the real bigger problem for Harry literally in the courtroom was his personal vendetta against the media. It does seem to stem from a long time ago, as was the case with his late mother. But what we do know is that both the King and his elder brother, the Prince of Wales, alongside the Princess of Wales, did advise previously never to take on the wrath of the British media, or indeed any worldwide media, for fear that things would be picked apart. And they were picked apart. One of the things that was particularly enthralling, in fact, was the fact that the King's Counsel asked Prince Harry whether he'd written his own personal documents. And surprisingly, Prince Harry claimed he had. Well, given the fact that he didn't write his own book, Spare, but had a ghostwriter drafted in, this seems an incredible feat considering the size and length and wording of said documents. But there you go. This, of course, is Prince Harry. But moving forward, I think one of the biggest bombshells that was to come out of today was the fact that Harry really pointed out that he decided to go along with this hacking case, not with the superstar pals of, like, say, Elizabeth Hurley, the actress, or indeed Sir Elton John. But he decided very soon after dealing, meeting and marrying Meghan Markle that he wanted to make sure she was afforded better protection that had not been afforded to his late mother. And really, many people felt that this was the case in a nutshell. Everything seemingly is driven back to Meghan. Now, what's interesting also is when you look at these particular topics that would have offended, upset, or indeed irked Meghan Markle, they were all pre-ever meeting her. But Harry somehow has decided that he's got to become the professional victim. Now, as we told you before, the Prince of Wales decided that he would be better kept, better suited to simply accept a payment from said media companies, donate it to the relevant charities, and make sure that they got a better understanding. This has clearly worked out incredibly well for the Prince of Wales because, on the whole, he and his wife, the Princess of Wales, do indeed have a very strong rapport with all the media over here in the United Kingdom. No negativity, but seemingly Prince Harry felt totally differently and rejected the idea of settling out of court. Many people over here in the United Kingdom are suggesting also that MGM, Mirror Group newspapers, actually wanted their day in court to refute said claims from Prince Harry. And in many respects, this has actually gone in their favour. Seemingly a lot of the things that Harry felt very aggrieved about, he couldn't provide any concrete evidence. And that really did make it incredibly difficult for all the King's Counsel concerned on both sides. Now, Harry himself at points looked very pained, very upset, and of course, at one point also almost cried. This was in relation to the breakdown of his relationship with his former girlfriend, Chelsea Davy. Now, one could say that, of course, he's learnt quite a few skills on how to perform on a public stage from his new wife, Meghan Markle, a former cable TV actress. But on the other side of the coin, it must have been incredibly draining for someone who's never been in this particular scrutiny before. Everywhere you've gone, the public have adored you, and seemingly you've had no problem with anything so far in your life. So deep, so keen, and so aggrieved was Prince Harry that he felt he had no option but to push forward. The problem for Prince Harry really was addressing the questions presented to him. Seemingly he couldn't get to grips with the fact that a simple answer back, to the point where the King's Counsel for the Mirror Group newspapers, Andrew Green, simply stated it was he asking the questions and it was Harry's job to simply answer them, not to defer them or in fact move them away from what was actually being discussed in court. The bigger problem really for Harry now moving forward is the evidence. It really does lack any substantial evidence. And some people might say what's also happened is the absolutely unravelling of Prince Harry's personality. Some people also could disclose that this was really far and beyond the very first meeting of Meghan Markle. This is something that's been festering clearly for many years. What has happened though was meeting someone like Miss Markle seemingly has untapped this particular ongoing whatever it is inside Prince Harry's mind. He wanted to get this out in the air, and seemingly Meghan Markle was a catalyst to doing that. But for Harry now, it remains to be seen how he's come across. Many people feel that he hasn't done himself any favours and irreparable damage, not just to himself, but indeed the monarchy. We do know that Prince William and Catherine really did not want him to push ahead. And part of the deal that the late monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, wanted when she requested that he join her up in Balmoral last year for one final holiday was to try and sit down with Prince Harry once and for all for a one-to-one and discuss really the removal of his book, Spare, and more importantly, the ill-advised idea of simply pushing ahead in a royal court of law. Both Harry and Meghan rejected this opportunity to spend one final time with Queen Elizabeth. As Harry left the court today, he looked a very much dishevelled man, a man very much also on his own, staying over here in London at, we believe, a private members club, not necessarily with any warmth, family or indeed close friends around him, other than the people that he's paying an extortionate amount to. When he returns back to America, the bigger problem that Harry has now is to view his performance. But there's also another thorny issue waiting him over there, which could mean, if certain people get their own way, like the Heritage Foundation, the revealing of exactly what was inside Prince Harry's US visa declaration. This could again once become a final catalyst to see him returning back to the UK, this time very much alone. Many people believe, though, that he would be removed from scrutiny and simply this is just a formality that legal proceedings in America are going through. Whichever way you look at it, Prince Harry has a lot of problems right now in front, centre and behind him, with not many solutions facing him. And if many people were honest, nobody right now also would wish to be in the former royal's shoes. But for now, Harry's forging ahead, even if Meghan is nowhere to take away that you could surmise from the second day of this particular court case in the High Court here in London with Prince Harry would simply be this. He's doing it not just for the protection of himself or indeed the memory of his late mother, Princess Diana, or not really all about the aggrieved things that he felt he'd gone through while growing up as a young prince and a member of the British monarchy. But what really turned everybody's head around was the simple fact when he said he was doing this for the protection to stop the abuse of his wife, Meghan Markle. At that point, I think everybody agreed that Prince Harry, without a shadow of a doubt, was doing it for that simple reason. Perhaps whoever he had married, he may have done the same thing. But given their, shall we say, fractured history with the media, both the fact that, of course, they've said they don't want to deal with the media and are very selective about certain press companies or indeed newspapers, digital platforms, news channels that they're willing to deal with, this really surmised everything that you needed to know. But of course, you see, the bottom line for Prince Harry is he is the, shall we say, leader of his own orchestra, his master of his own misery. This is a man, if you recall, less than 3 weeks ago, claimed he was chased around New York City for 2 hours in the very heart of Manhattan. If one wished to, well, get some verification on that, nobody as yet has seen the footage from his phone, including the NYPD. Let's not forget that Harry sat next to his wife and said virtually nothing as she claimed that they'd had a secret wedding ahead of their 2018 wedding at St. George's Chapel in Windsor. So many people who were looking at Prince Harry today were looking, in many respects, through rose-tinted glasses at a man who's truly going through a lot of demons. But more importantly, what is the truth when Harry himself seemingly can't recognise it? And this was none more evident than literally in the very court case today. Harry seemingly has not moved on with his own, shall we say, narrative of the truth, their version of the truth, your truth, as Oprah Winfrey famously said. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.